Reagan gave the amnesty, he penalized the people who was going to hire undocumented workers, but they continue hiring. They never were penalized, and do you know why? Because I think immigration is based in supply and demand. If there are many jobs, many people come here. If there are no jobs, no people is going to come here. They are going to go to China, maybe, or they are going to go to another place, and we have to be conscious of that. I think that the immigration, the undocumented people, has been used as a scapegoat of the terrible situation that we are passing. For example, we have a terrible economical crisis that President Bush created, in my opinion, and that we don't say anything when we were seeing what was happening. We don't say absolutely nothing. And now we are seeing the consequences. We saw that everybody, and I know that everybody, and I understand all of you, how do you feel? Because you lost houses, jobs, pensions, the idea of retirement at 60, in which you were going to spend 6 months in Acapulco and 6 months here, and everything is gone. But you know, we have to find exactly what is the situation. The technology that has moved so many jobs from the middle class, also the sending jobs to another countries. We are in a new reality, and we have to focus in that instead of attacking the people who is doing the job that you guys don't want to do. Don't forget about that. Thank you.
So let us move to local and state governments. Should local and state governments enforce federal immigration laws, or should they pick and choose which laws they have to enforce? Who wants to take Mr. Brown?
Well, first of all, I would really reword that question as why are state and local governments not enforcing immigration laws? Not should they, they're not. And they're picking and choosing, just like the people running the state, they're picking and choosing which laws they're going to enforce and which laws they're not, which again is anarchy. You talk about was brought up the terrible economy we have. Well, the CEO of Gallup polls just came out, it was about a week ago, when Obama was touting these unemployment figures of 5.9%. And he basically came out and said, this is a big lie. He says, I've got all the stats here. He puts it from all their data, it's well above 10%, closer to 11% when you take all the people that have dropped out of the workforce because there's no jobs, who can't find work that'll pay them enough to even live on, who have just given up. So, and since 2000, this is from the Center on Immigration Studies. This is recent, came out on June 2014. Since 2000, all of the job growth, pretty much all the job growth in the United States went to legal and illegal immigrants, not natives. So you talk about illegals or illegal immigrants suffering? No. The truth is, natives here, legal citizens are taking a big brunt of this now, being displaced out of the job market by people willing to work for lower income.
I think there's another opinion about to be expressed. Mr. Magallon, you have your hand up there?
I think Captain Ford can expand more on maybe why local and state law enforcement doesn't enforce all federal immigration laws. There are several good reasons, but there's also issues for the community when local governments, especially police forces, enforce immigration laws. The truth is that it's terrible for police-community relations. We all know, as undocumented people in this country, that we're more afraid of the police after we've had a crime committed against us than we are of the criminals. That happens very often. When I was mugged in Lancaster, I think 3 years ago, my first question wasn't, should I call the police? It was, holy shit. I've been mugged. If I call the police, will I be placed in deportation proceedings? And the answer is no, because there are protections in the state of California and at the local level which would protect me if I was a victim of a crime. The other issue, again, when police enforce these federal immigration laws at the local level, is that it creates a situation where people target undocumented immigrants. This just recently happened in San Francisco, where 5 undocumented men were sexually assaulted by someone who used their status as a leverage. He was just recently indicted by a jury, and he will be probably sentenced, I think, in a few days. But that is the kinds of things that happen when police enforce immigration laws and immigrants are afraid to come forward when they're the victims of crimes.
I want to add
Yeah.
something.
Galindo.
Do you know, we were talking about all the changes that we have in this 21st century, and it's similar to what happened in the past century with the Industrial Revolution. Big changes that we have to adapt to the change. We cannot turn the clock back. And do you know, I know what that means for the status quo. Before, only white males were in power, and all of a sudden we have even an African American café con leche because he is white and black president, and I think that is the signification that we lost the power. Things are going to be different, and we have to adapt, and I think if we work all together in the same direction, we can have a great country. Thank you.
Let's have Captain Ford have the last word on federal immigration laws.
I will tell you right now, I have no interest in enforcing federal immigration laws. I have no interest in enforcing the IRS's rules. I have no interest in enforcing the federal OSHA laws. We are interested in street crime. We have limited resources. We have a mission to accomplish here to make this community safe. Those laws were created by the federal government. They need to take the resources they need to deal with those issues and not take our resources to enforce their rules. When their rules are quite frankly conflicting in different places, you get when you start doing it at the local level, you get very uneven enforcement and you create chaos throughout. That needs to be done nationwide the same way all the way, and that needs the federal government to do that, not local governments, because you end up with different interpretations, and we spend far more money in courts and everything else when we start doing that. We don't have a dog in that fight. Says unless that person is part of a larger criminal act, then we will notify the federal government, because that's a public safety issue very directly. If someone's committing assaults, breaking into houses, I don't care where they're from, we'll use whatever tools we can, including the immigration laws, for that purpose. But our focus has got to be on those violent crimes where we actually can do the most good for the limited resources we have.
So Captain Ford, what is a typical scenario? You stop someone for a traffic violation, you don't immediately ask about legal residency or status?
No, no. The only time we ask about legal residency or status is if they're arrested, because there are federal rules that we have agreements with other countries that we will notify their consulates if they're foreign nationals, and then we ask that question so that we can give them an opportunity to notify their consulate or their embassy. Some countries it's mandatory, like China, we're required to notify the consulate. For others, it's up to the person that's arrested if they want to notify it. So we ask the question, someone says they're from Guatemala, from El Salvador, we give them the opportunity then on arrest. But for a minor traffic offense where they're just receiving a citation, they get the same treatment everybody else does. Here's your ticket, sign here if you've got good ID.
So Captain Ford, what is your recommendation to someone like Mr. Magallon, who just mentioned, undocumented, he was a victim of a crime? Should they call the police? What should they expect from our local law enforcement?
Anybody that's a victim of a crime needs to call us and let us know. You know, we solve as many crimes as we can. We're not going to solve everyone, but what we do know is that we need to have the reports in at least to know where the crimes are occurring and who the victims are. If we don't know where they're occurring, we'll deploy our resources based on bad information. Then if we think they're all happening around the mall, that's where you're going to see police cars. If you don't tell us there's a problem in your neighborhood, we're not going to spend as much time in your neighborhood. So we need to know about it from whatever source. That's how, because those same criminals that are involved attacking immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal, they don't differentiate. They don't really know where people are from when they're sticking the gun in your face or breaking into the back door of your house.
You know, our next question, next prepared question is also the topic of one of the audience questions that we received. Should people who are here illegally be given welfare, free health care, public schooling, education, and be allowed to fight for our country? Who wants to take on the issue of education, health care, welfare? Mr. Brown.
Okay. This was a study released last year, dated June 19, 2014, by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR. And their studies using government stats found that providing education, healthcare, law enforcement, and social and government services to illegal aliens and their dependents cost Californians $25.3 billion. Now, you take away the $3.5 billion in taxes that was collected from the illegal aliens, that leaves just under $22 billion in costs to us taxpayers.
And you know what, we're going to get onto that issue because one of the last questions is going to have to do with benefit or cost
okay.
to the
okay, I guess to get back, no, because we can't keep doing this. You know, our country's running approaching $20+ trillion in deficit. Nobody in their right mind, you can't sit there and keep spending money you don't have. No business will stay solvent spending money they don't have. Only the government can sit there and print money and run a pyramid scheme, which is eventually going to collapse. And then there will be no money to pay for anything.
So just for clarification, do you believe that schools should be open to everyone, that they should accept everyone that walks through their hallways?
You know what? No, I don't. You know, I'm sorry. We can't take in all the people in the world. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And if you think you can, you're dreaming, and you're as delusional as our president is.
Ms. Galindo.
I know that after the welfare reform, undocumented people cannot receive benefits. And they are not receiving benefits. And I think that they are here, the children are here, and if you don't give them education, they are going to still be here. They are not going to leave. So we want a population that is educated. So many people came to the United States to study a master's degree or a BA, and immediately they used to offer them a job. And now we are seeing people who is undocumented that they already receive free education, and they go to the university with a lot of efforts, and they are deported. I think this is not common sense. I think that we should use the resources that we have produced.
Okay. Mr. Magayon?
Well, just I guess for open disclosure, I'm actually a full-time student at UCLA. I'm able to go on a full ride scholarship that was able to be given to me after laws in California changed. I am one of the people who Ms. Galindo talked about who graduated from high school here in the Antelope Valley with honors after I went through ABC and couldn't advance. So Ms. Galindo is also right that children have a fundamental right to be educated in this country. They are not going to be. In terms of the figures that were just brought up, they're a little misleading because they conflate a lot of different numbers. The $2.7 billion that we're collecting in California in terms of taxes are only taxes paid directly. They're not the derivatives of the economic activity undocumented people produce. One, by being consumers who demand products, by being people who need services and then create jobs based on their need for services. And also they provide services. Undocumented immigrants, believe it or not, in this country, provide jobs to US foreign citizens. There are many undocumented people who I work with every single day whose parents own shops who hire people who are born here with SSNs. And they pay their business taxes and they pay their individual taxes. So in terms of the benefits that we receive, we actually don't qualify for many benefits. I lived 20 years in this country. I haven't seen a doctor in 6 years. For one, I would probably should go to see a doctor soon because I'm 25 years old. There are many barriers to our qualities of life here in the United States. Ms. Galindo's right that people come here for very dramatic reasons. One of the biggest ones is globalization, which you all know has changed our economy here, but has devastated global economies. We need services. People need to live. People have a right to not die because they don't have 9 digits. For me, it's just common sense.
So speaking of 9 digits, I'm going to interject an audience question. Do you feel as though many politicians wish to deny citizenship to the undocumented because the Social Security program is being bolstered by undocumented workers? So what is the impact of the undocumented worker on the economy?
You know, I have read that undocumented pay $7 billion per year to Social Security that they cannot claim because they are working with a Social Security number that is not their own. Then, you know, it's a lot of money. We all make a great contribution to Social Security, and it's thanks to that all people can get Social Security now, because this is young people that is working very hard and paying a Social Security that they never going to get back.
Can we hold on? Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and submit it. Would anybody else like to comment on Social Security program and the impact of the undocumented workers on the economy?
Sure. So I think in general there have been several studies since I came here to the country during the last really big wave of migration on the southern border, which is right before the implementation, right during the implementation of NAFTA. So one of the things that we find is that there's actually a net benefit to the United States economy from clandestine migration and all migration. The difference is the way that costs are shared. Costs tend to be burdened at a local level by school districts, by police forces, by hospitals, and they tend to float up by the federal government and large corporations. That is the way our economy works. That is unfortunate, and that is why I think there's so much anger at the local level when communities start changing and they start seeing migration of either clandestine or not. In terms of Social Security, undocumented immigrants do subsidize Social Security for all Americans, which is one, unfair because that means that for us who are working, like myself right now, full-time jobs, paying taxes with a valid Social Security number or with an ITIN as contractors, when we age, we won't have the money to retire. We are literally being, I guess, condemned to a life of adulthood where we will end up as poor seniors with no access to benefits, with no access to housing. I'm not sure that that's what most Americans want, whether I'm undocumented or not.
So I distributed 2 articles that appeared in the Valley Press this last week. And the second one deals with this issue that we're talking about. So is the president giving amnesty bonuses, or are undocumented workers paying into a system that they will never benefit from?
Do you know, I know that they are paying taxes. They require a ITIN when they are working, or they work with a social security that is not their own, then they pay income taxes. When they go to buy a car, they pay taxes. When they go to buy gas, they pay taxes. They pay all the taxes, and they don't demand services because they are afraid that they are going to be discovered and deported, and because they are afraid that they couldn't qualify for immigration. Then the money that they paying taxes is a lot more that they take from the system.
What, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, you know, I have to take exception with what I keep hearing, you know, illegals, like it's just routine, that it's okay to sit there and work using somebody else's social security number. This is absurd. Absurd. And it's like, you know, it's no big deal. Breaking the law, that's a crime. Is it not? I think it is.
You're asking me rhetorically.
I know, I believe that's a crime. I'm answering it, I guess, yeah. You know, but it's nonchalantly, oh yeah, they've been working, you know, and these, under the Obama amnesty plan, the IRS commissioner just came out last week